What's up, guys? It's your boy Darskin, and today we're going to be talking about polearms. Now, continuing the topic of Xiao, I made another video a couple days ago, or a while ago, whatever, I forgot when, and I was talking about polearms for Xiao, and there were a lot of people, and I mean a lot, that were like, hey, DS, you're talking about Deathmatch, why don't you bring up, you know, Blackcliff pole? Why don't you bring this up? Blackcliff pole is really good for him. And it is. Just first and foremost, it's a good weapon. Right? But I'm going to explain to you guys why I told people to go Deathmatch over Blackcliff and why I didn't recommend Blackcliff to anybody. Right? Number one, I don't really recommend this weapon to people because this is the thing. Either A, you're a whale, in which case you could just get a 5-star weapon, etc. B, you're a light spender, in which case you could just go Deathmatch, and I'm going to explain that. Or C, you're free to play, in which case you don't have that much star glitter to begin with. And even if you do have a little bit of star glitter, it's like, you got to ask yourself, is it worth to get the Blackcliff pole over saving it for characters or summons? So that's why I don't recommend Blackcliff pole, because it's a limited weapon, and it costs star glitter, which you can use for characters and summons over, you know, this weapon whenever there are other weapon options to you, right? So for free to play, you can get characters with star glitter and summons with star glitter. Light spenders, you can just go Deathmatch, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Give me a second. And for whales, I mean, if you're a whale, you can do whatever you want, right? Like, at that point, you have all the star glitter in the world. You can, you know what I'm saying? So, whatever. Anyways, now the question is, why do I say Deathmatch over Blackcliff when it comes to, I guess, light spenders and above? Because if you're free to play, you don't buy the battle pass anyway. So, if you guys don't know, and I'm gonna bring up these stats real quick. So if you guys don't know, with let me go here. With Blackcliff pole at max stats, like level 90, gives 55 crit damage and 510 base attack, right? At level 90. Now, if we look at Deathmatch at level 90 gives 36% crit rate and 454 base attack. So it gives a little bit of, it gives less base attack, but it gives crit rate. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, well, why would I not choose the crit damage over the crit rate? Let me explain. Number one, a lot of people bring up Xiao's ascension stat potentially being crit rate. But if we look at a unit like D-Luke, who also has crit rate as his ascension stat, he only gets what? Like 19% crit rate? For the sake of, we'll say total is he gets 20% and then 5% base crit rate, so 25% total. So, doing the math on that, right? You add the 25% to the 36%, and you're going to get what? 61% crit rate, right? And that's only if it's 25. I think it's less, but we'll just say 25% crit rate for the sake of the video. So you get 61% crit rate from the weapon and his ascension stat. So that means all of your substats can now go into crit damage, right? So we look at crit damage. Now you can run substats like this, where it's 27 crit damage, 33 crit damage. You know, you can put all of your ascension stats in the crit damage, attack percents, energy recharge, elemental mastery, etc. And you can run a crit damage headpiece. If you guys don't know about crit damage headpieces or crit rate headpieces, a crit rate headpiece is 31%. A crit damage headpiece is 62%. So you're getting double the amount of crit damage than crit rate. So if you run the crit damage weapon with 55% and then a crit rate headpiece for 31%, 31% crit rate on the headpiece is less than the 36% from the weapon, and 55% crit damage from the weapon is less than 62% crit damage from the headpiece. So if you're going to run Blackcliff polearm with a crit rate headpiece, you're going to lose crit rate and crit damage versus using the Deathmatch with crit rate weapon and crit damage headpiece. So for a lot of people asking me why I say this, that's why. If you were to run the Blackcliff polearm with a crit rate headpiece, you're going to lose out on crit damage and crit rate. Whereas if you run the Deathmatch, you are going to lose out on base attack by what, 60? 60 base attack, I guess you could say. And then looking at the passives, of course, right? Let's look at the passives, which they all have the same passive. After defeating an opponent, attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. This effect can stack to 3 times. Duration of each stack is independent of the other. Okay, so after you kill an enemy, you get a stack. The thing about this is only this does not work against bosses, right? Because against a boss, it's only 1 unit, so you'll never get the passive. On top of, this is more of a like an abyss passive. But the thing about this is, it's not better in Deathmatch in the sense of there's no survivability on this, number 1. And you can't use it against bosses. And the reason why I say that is, if you guys don't know how Xiao works, Xiao loses HP whenever he's in his ult, right? Now, one of his constellations, which I'm not saying you should get the constellation, but the fact that the constellation exists just adds proof to why survivability on Xiao's good. He has a constellation where he goes below 50% HP, he gets 100% increased defense. And that's because his HP is depleting, but if he doesn't take that much damage from enemies, he still can survive. Well, with the Deathmatch, if there are 2 nearby enemies, so 2 or more basically, attack is increased by 16, defense is increased by 16. So it gives him survivability. And then if there's less than 2 enemies, so if there's only 1 enemy, attack is increased by 24%. So not only can you use it against bosses, not only does it have a survivability factor, but it is a universal weapon. So for anyone that wants to know why I say Deathmatch over Blackcliff, these are the reasons why, right? Now, obviously you could say, oh, well, I'm a free-to-play player and I don't have, I don't buy the battle pass, but I have enough star glitter for the Blackcliff. If you want to get the Blackcliff, sure, be my guest. But if that's the case, I want to introduce you guys to a weapon that a lot of people sleep on. A lot of people sleep on this weapon, and I'm not even entirely sure why. Because this is the thing. If you're free to play and you don't have that much star glitter to begin with, you could potentially save it for summons and characters. So I want to tell you guys a free-to-play option, which a lot of people are going to disagree with. And if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. But looking at this weapon right here, energy recharge, which means he's going to be able to get his ult up a lot faster. And then look at the passive. After using an elemental skill, increases normal and charged attack damage by 8% for 12 seconds, max 2 stacks. Now, why is this passive so good? I'm glad you asked. Xiao has 2 dashes, right? He can use 2 dashes. Each dash is on a 10-second cooldown. So this is going to have 100% uptime. You use 1 dash, you get the 8%. You use a second dash, you get the 8%. Keep in mind, 12 seconds. You're going to have a dash up before 12 seconds because this dash is on a 10-second cooldown. So you're going to have 100% uptime on this passive. And you get the energy recharge for his ultimate. So if you're free to play, Prototype, it was Grudge, but they changed it to Star Glitter, is a good option. Now, I know, like, if you want to go for the Blackcliff weapon, be my guest. But these are the reasons why Blackcliff is not better than Deathmatch. And if you're free to play, you might want to consider going for the craftable weapon over that. So, anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, comment down below, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.